This is a dandelion. Of course it is. I got lots in my yard. Everything's edible on this thing, supposedly. But what to do? I know.
Today we are making dandelion jelly. And I get to pick the dandelions. Let's go.
So we started out good. Emma was out there picking away. After about 4 or 5, her hair was getting in her way. And she didn't like the bugs. So out comes her aunt. Put her hair up in a ponytail. Help her pick everything. And we managed. Look, we almost got a full bowl. She picked the front clean and had to go into my backyard to get some more. And it's kind of funny because within about 5 days, of course, you know what happened. You wouldn't know that she picked every dandelion. They were all back in full force. Keep in mind when you're picking, you want a place where there's no spraying and preferably no pet stuff, if you know what I mean. And this is what we got. Not bad, Emma.
That was a lot of work.
Okay, so now it's my turn. Here's our dandelions. I've got a bowl, and now we've got to pick them. So the first thing I saw was that some people were using scissors to cut through everything. I tried it, and it wasn't helping because the trick is you want the yellow, but you don't want the green leaves because that could make it bitter. But I found there's 2 different kinds of leaves. There's the ones that are just under the yellow, which are pretty well the same thing, just different color. And then the green leaves under them, which are the bitter ones. Well, after I did that, and I fought for a couple, 3 dandelions about how do I get all these green pieces out, I finally gave up and just thought, hey, this is either going to work or it's not. So I did it by hand. I plucked each one with my fingers and thumbs. And there was no way I could not pick some green leaves. So the ones that I figured were petals like the yellow, I kept them in. And the one trick I know is if when we're done, if it's not yellow enough, just throw in some food coloring. And that's what I did. Because it was kind of dark greeny yellow by the time we're done, and you'll see that. So we picked it all, about 25 minutes it took me to get down to the end of the bowl. So here we are. Everything's plucked. It looks like enough, I would think. So that's what we've got to play with. So the end result should be about 2 cups of dandelions. It looks pretty close. We'll put them aside. We boiled the kettle. Bring that in. I got a fork to mush everything around. We dumped our dandelion flowers. And now the fun part, we've got to make the juice. So this is 4 cups of boiling water. Oops, just about knocked the camera over. Not that I've never done that before. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly 4. I mean, if you're going to make less, that's fine. I put a little extra in. I'm glad I did. This worked out to about 6 jars by the time I was done. Actually, it could have been 7 if I made a little more, and I did it properly. So I'm just making sure everything is nice and covered by the water, and we're going to let that cool for a couple hours, and we're going to put it in the fridge for overnight. Now here's our canning jars. I had to go buy a 4-pack, which probably would have been enough, but I wanted to give some away, assuming it worked out. So there's our 6 jars with the lids, and I've got the rings. Obviously you got to disassemble them because you've got to fill them up, but we're also going to sterilize them. I have used the dishwasher method. It works great, but I'm not running the dishwasher for 6 jars. And since we got to boil them when they're done, because I'd like to keep them for a while, we're going to get this ready. So onto the stove pot, we're going to boil this, and you can see the rack in the bottom. That's so that the jars, when we put them in, aren't touching the bottom of the pot. Our water is now boiling. Oh boy, you got to get the claw and ever so carefully put one of your jars in, filling it up with water. So you can do that to each one. Now unfortunately this isn't proper canning pot. This is just what I had on that fit. So we're using it. And I can just fit 6 of these little guys with the lids, with the rings. Now I'm going to have to cover this up because it needs 1 inch or 2 of water over the jars and bring it to a boil. And I'm going to need that when I'm finishing canning too, so we're good there. Next up, our dandelions. Now see how green that is? Even though I tried to pluck out most of the green, we've still got it, and it's kind of got a greeny yellow tinge to it. So we're going to squeeze out all the juice. Doesn't take much to do. And then as far as the petals go, you can recycle it, throw it out, do what you'd like with it, because at this point we're done with it. Now if you want that liquid to look a little thicker, the trick I guess is a couple drips of food coloring. Now this is our pectin. We used 1 pouch to start with. And I say start because I had to do this 3 times to get it right. We also had to put in 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Back to the stove we go. So this is going to take a little bit because we're going to constantly whisk it and it has to come up to a boil. La 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 la. Little by little. Okay, I wasn't whisking it constantly, but we finally get it up to a rolling boil, and in goes our sugar. That is 4 cups of sugar. And we'll give her a good whisk and bring it back up to a rolling boil. And of course we've got to stir this 2 minutes on the boil. So we've got to actually wait till it gets up to the boil. Now we've got 2 minutes. Tick, 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 tick. I think I had it up a little high. Just about spilled over on me. Here we are 2 minutes later, nice and hot and hopefully nice and mixed. Our jars are ready to come out of the pot. Make sure you take all that water out of the jar because you don't want boiling water splashing all over the place. And of course on the towels. So all our jars and rings and everything are sterile. Now I've got my funnel, my canning funnel actually, which is really cool. And we're just going to fill them up. We have 6 jars to fill up. It's about 2 ladles each, and you want it just about up to the rim. I had leftovers, so now we're going to ladle it up to the top a little closer. I find even though it's a little bit more space, leave it like right at the rim of the top. Before you put the lids on, wipe the top with a damp cloth. Make sure your lids are tight because they are going to get a little loose in the boiling water. In they go. We're going to give them a good 5 minutes boiling because as you can see, even though these things are hot, the liquid's hot, the jars are kind of warm, the water temperature is going to go down. So we've got to bring it back up, keeping in mind you need that extra 2 inches over the jars. So we're going to let it come back up to a boil and we're going to count our 5 minutes from there. And when we're done, you can see how the lid in the middle, that's the indicator circle, and that'll actually pop and drop, and you know you got a good seal. So there it is, our dandelion jam. The only thing left to do at this point is check it out, make some toast, and try it out. Now I do have to tell you quickly, the first time it didn't solidify enough. I had to do it a second time with more of the Certo, the second pack. I used a little bit. It got to the consistency of thick syrup. I had to redo it again 2 days later, pour the second bag of Certo in. I'm not really sure why I needed so much. It could have been the extra liquid I put in. It could have been that it was gel and not powder. But in the end, we got some real yummy dandelion jam. Doesn't that look yummy? Thanks again to my helper.
Did you have fun? I did. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the button. Leave me a comment below so I know you watched. Thanks for watching. Bye! And I'm gonna pick the dandelion. And I'm gonna pick the dandelion.
Well, wait, you gotta wait.
And I get to pick the dandelions.
So let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.